Hi, I'm Ian, and this is Spicy Book Club, a show where I read books and I tell you my thoughts on them. Today's book is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And of course, before we talk about it, I'm gonna go ahead and eat a spicy chicken nugget. Today's hot sauce is the bomb, beyond insanity. It was only a matter of time, right? Can't have a spice show without it. Bottoms up. Oh. Oh. Oh God. A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Okay. A Court of Thorns and Roses is book one in A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. It follows a girl named Feyre. Feyre is the youngest in her family, and they are downtrodden. They're like destitute. Her father is a failed merchant. Feyre is the breadwinner. She goes out and hunts. She does like everything because her mom told her to. Anyway, that doesn't matter. One day she's out hunting, and she finds a deer. She goes to kill the deer. She sees that there's a wolf. That's important. The wolf, we're gonna get back to that. The wolf goes for the deer. She's like, I gotta feed my family. This wolf will probably kill me. Blah. She takes out a fancy arrow, which is important too. Because her fancy arrow is made out of ash wood. So she's like, bing. She takes it out, Hawkeyes them. A couple days pass, and crashing through her door is this what I can only describe as a lion with horns. Okay, Bucket comes crashing through and is like roaring, and it's like roar, 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 and is like, who killed my friend? No one knows what they're talking about, right? And he finally reveals, it's like, who killed like the wolf? That was my, yeah. We need to get to the point. My opinion of A Court of Thorns and Roses is that it is a subpar, below boilerplate, I would say, even fantasy story, and it is at best a serviceable romance story. Okay, so before we start clickety-clacking on those keyboards, we're gonna let me talk, and I promise there are things that I actually did enjoy, or I at least appreciated out of this. So let's just give me a moment. I need to get this off my chest first. I have a little quiz for you. What do we call people that are from Canada? Do you see that? Yeah, we call them Canadians. What do we call people from Romania? We call them Romanians. And what do we call people from Estonia? We call them Estonians. So what the you call someone from Pythian? Exactly, right? It bothered the hell out of me that this place was called Pythian. All right, it should have been Prithia. The Prithians from Prithia, right? Prithians from Prithia. Your book, your rules, just know I don't agree with your rules at all. And it bothered me for the entirety of this book. There's really no world building. I'm gonna be honest. You have Fire Knight. They do go under the mountain. Feyre does interact with some of the surrounding, or at least she interacts with like the spring court. But if you were to ask me like, hey, what is the spring court? I'd be like, it's like Tamlin's mansion, right? Like that's what I gleaned off that. Like, do the Fae go to like other cities? Do they have cities? And it might be suffering because it's from Feyre's perspective, but it's really just Feyre's hanging out in Tamlin's house for like, bro, it was like 30 chapters. Like, that's another problem. Let's go into that. So the conflict of the story, right? The conflict of the story ultimately is that Amarantha has the Fae and all the courts wrapped up in this blight. The resolution, the original resolution to this problem is Tamlin has to fall in love with a human who hates Fae, specifically like the human, like in this case woman, has to kill a Fae in cold blood. Feyre never kills a Fae in cold blood. Meet me in the comments section, because it doesn't happen. She has an inkling that she thinks it's a fairy. She doesn't know that it's a fairy. She knows that it's a wolf, and she's scared of her life because it's a wolf, and she uses an ash arrow with an iron arrowhead because it's a wolf. Like you can't just use like arrows, bro. She's got to like knock them out. So at no point in time when I read the book was I like, oh yeah, like she definitely knows it's a fairy and she's gonna kill a fairy, right? Because they even make a point, right? Tamlin's been sending out like his sentinels to die, hopefully, to a woman, like a female out there, to like start this prophecy, this ritual. And they acknowledge in the book, I think it was Alice, the servant, like tells Feyre, which is telling you in some exposition that, yeah, he has to dress them up like wolves or transform them into wolves because people will run from them. If the fairies were just moping around and like just, you know, just if the fairies were just like sauntering around in the woods like a human, because humans are terrified of them because they're oppressive, or the Fae have been oppressing them and are just so much like stronger than them, they would just run. Feyre wouldn't have done it. She would have ran 100%. So right there, just in like the inception of this ritual, like that doesn't make sense. Or at least like in the start of this ritual, like that doesn't make sense. Like we're breaking rules, right? At least I think so. Now, if you get through that part, Tamlin trying to force his feelings or trying to force feelings for Feyre, sure. He knows he has to fall in love with this girl, but like it still doesn't make sense to me that Feyre is wanting to fall, like falls in love with him. True, all the Fae are hot. Similar to how vampires are either depicted as really hot and seductive or that Nosferatu ass ugly. Fairies are typically portrayed as either really hot and attractive, or they're depicted as, you know, like little sprite-like Tinkerbell, right? So, of course, like most people, most creatures, like in fantasy, are just naturally attracted to fairies, right? Like they're known for their charisma. Cool. So the conflict being the blight on Pythian, right? That they introduce it around like maybe chapter 10-ish, somewhere, maybe a little bit before, and we don't really touch back on that until almost like chapter 29 or 30. Okay, and that's where Alice, the servant, gives like this huge exposition once Feyre comes back and it's like, I'm gonna save Tamlin because I love him now. She reveals that like, yeah, he had to fall in love with you, and if you guys fell in love, then like this curse would be like lifted. Okay, cool, but we didn't touch on that for almost like, I shit you not, like 16 or 17 chapters. Like those 16 or 17 chapters tested me. They felt like needless, maybe even superfluous, like vignettes of two people that are kind of like, you know, learning to enjoy each other, warming up to each other, which sure, if that's your romance for you, like awesome. But there was nothing terribly compelling for me, like going from like through that slog. It took until Feyre went under the mountain. Maybe really it was like whenever she returned from the human world to like see what happened at Tamlin's like mansion, and then like yada yada, that's when it started to get interesting. Let's talk about the good. Sarah, if you're watching this, I think your prose is fine. I think like reading it, like you're absolutely a competent writer. Like creatively, I thought it was just kind of lacking, but like reading it, you absolutely are a totally a good writer. I enjoyed your prose. I think the way you described a lot of your settings, a lot of the scenes were well done. Like I won't argue with that. I thought this book was gonna be a lot steamier, and I thought it was gonna be like smut, like actual smut. It's not. There's one actual sex scene, and then the other ones are I mean, it's like they're getting real close and flirting with it, but like it's not nearly as bad as people portrayed it out to be. Maybe it's different past this, like in the rest of the series, but you know, your mileage may vary. Would I recommend this to you? If you're really into, I don't know. It really just depends on your flavor of romance. I think there's probably better romance stories out there, personally. I'm gonna try to read a little bit more romance to have more of a comparison or frame of reference this year, but I feel like this is probably lower than most of them. I'm not gonna lie, but hey, I also need to come on record and say, before you get mad, you might already be mad. If you enjoyed this book, I love that for you. I'm not trying to yuck your yums. I just, you know, I read the book and these are my thoughts, but I 100% think that if you enjoy it, enjoy it. I do not intend on going any farther with the series. I just wanted to see what everyone was talking about. I'll tell you what, if this video at any point in time reaches 1,000 likes, I will put the next book in my stack to read it this year. You know, with where we're at as far as YouTube and viewership, I don't think I have to worry about this video hitting 1,000 likes. That's all I've got. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great 2025. I'm excited to see what it brings. I'm excited to see. I hope you're excited to see what it brings. Bye.